Hello and welcome to a very special episode of GoodCast, a podcast produced by Goodwill North Central Texas. It's a show where we take a closer look at the story behind the store and highlight successes made possible thanks to the generous donations of everyday people. I'm your host, Justin. Today we're hitting the runway to talk about the most fashionable fundraising event of the spring, Project Goodwill. This episode is full of information, so I'll try to keep this intro short, but let's set the scene really quick. Project Goodwill is our annually held design competition and gala that funds scholarship opportunities for people enrolling into our employment and credentialing programs. The scholarship itself has its origins tied to our other annual fundraising event, the Goodwill Tournament of Excellence, so the two events combined have a huge impact on our community efforts. The direct effects of this scholarship can be seen through success stories and through our Leadership Academy, which we've covered previously. Speaking of the Leadership Academy, I recently completed my Adobe certification tests and earned 6 total accreditations. Told you I'd keep you posted. And now, without further ado, let's get to our first interview with Shay Dial Johnson, Vice President of Community Engagement, and learn all about this one-of-a-kind event. So, how did the idea for Project Goodwill first come about?
So, I'm like a huge Project Runway fan. I watched the show like religiously years ago, close to a decade ago, and just really loved the show. I thought the concept was amazing, really into fashion, but really into sustainable fashion. So the idea that in a lot of different episodes, they were creating something beautiful out of trash or remnants or whatever, just really appealed to me. They always did an unconventional challenge where they had to use unconventional materials. And I thought, oh man, what if they use stuff from Goodwill? Like that would be amazing, right? So that's kind of where the idea came from, the inception. I can just remember saying, I want to do that. I want to do that for Goodwill. And we can just make it like a fun event, just a marketing event, just something guerrilla style marketing to bring people into Goodwill and let them learn more about the agency. I went to see my boss. And myself, along with another colleague, were like, hey, we have this idea for an event. It could be really cool. And so he was all gung-ho, like, yeah, do it. Bring it on. So we simply, at that time, we had a large space in the middle of our building called the garden room. We had some staging in the warehouse that we used for graduations and things like that. And we just set up a stage in the garden room and did some uplighting and put out an all call to the area college students that were in fashion merchandising or fashion design programs and asked them if they wanted to do like an unconventional challenge. And we called it Project Goodwill. And so we got like 10 or 11 contestants that year. I asked local theater professors and just different people in the fashion industry locally to be judges, and we got a panel of judges. One of them being Joe Allen Brown, so he's been with us since the very beginning, and they just came and judged the competition. We didn't really have prizes. We gave people Goodwill gift certificates to be winners. It was not a gala. It was just like set up audience style, theater style in our garden room. People came. We did not charge admission. I think we had cookies and punch out, and people came and watched the show. And so it was a lot of fun just to see what the designers and the contestants came up with. And so it went well, and we got a lot of great feedback from it. So we went back to David afterward and said, hey, we've gotten a lot of great feedback from this. What do you think about turning it into a gala and turning it into a fundraiser? And he was like, okay, great thing about him is he's very open to whatever. So we took a year off and did some planning. So the first one was in 2013. We took off 2014 just to do some planning, get a budget put together, decide how we were going to do it. The next time we did it, it was at TCU in their ballroom. At that time, we again got another panel of judges. Joe Allen Brown was back with us, but we added Kanani Mehalona. So he's been with us since the beginning as well. And it was great. We had a host come in. We had great contestants. It was a great dinner. So it's just evolved. We didn't really have any fundraisers at the time other than our golf tournament. Mm-hmm. And that appeals to a certain kind of audience. This gives people more of a social fundraising event to attend.
Can you tell me a little bit about like what goes on during, so you mentioned the actual runway show.
Yes.
But what else are people doing at the event?
So the event starts like an hour before the runway show. We have a cocktail hour where people can come in and socialize, step and repeat, get their photo taken, cocktails. We've got a luxury silent auction where you can bid on really nice items. We've got a wine raffle that you can participate in and win a lot of wine. Mm-hmm. We sell mystery boxes, which is really exciting. It's just an opportunity for people to donate to Goodwill and maybe get a little something fun in return. Mm-hmm. And then folks get to go into the ballroom, enjoy a really nice plated dinner, and watch the show for entertainment. Mm-hmm. And so people really like it. It's a great opportunity for businesses to invite clients out, a group of girlfriends, guy friends to buy a table together and hang out. Families, we've had children attend. It's a fun night. I tell people all the time, it's the best fun you're ever going to have on a Thursday night.
Right. Because it's always been on a Thursday.
It's always historically been on a Thursday. I think the first time we did it was a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We've fluctuated from like Mondays, Wednesdays, but Thursday seems to be our sweet spot.
So that first year that y'all were at TCU, when you're like standing in the ballroom, did you have a moment of like looking around and be like, this is wild. Like, what have we done?
Yes, absolutely. I thought, well, first of all, I was like a nervous wreck because you want it to go well. You don't want it to go badly. You don't want to lose money either. If we make money, that's excellent because we've raised money to go towards our programs. If we raise no money but break even, that's fine too because we've told a lot of people about Goodwill. But you don't want to lose money. And so I can remember that first year thinking, oh gosh, I hope people buy things. I hope people participate and donate. But it was weird. Like we went from literally nothing to something really great and really grand over the course of a year. So it was exciting. I can remember breaking the first place award trophy and slicing my hand open backstage. Oh, no. That was nice. Mm. I recovered though, so it was fun.
So what's been your favorite design, like out of all the past years? Like which one has stuck out to you the most?
I think my very favorite, and it's very rudimentary and it's old and it's from that TCU year, but we had a young man make a dress out of tinfoil pie pans. Mm-hmm. And I just haven't seen anyone do anything like it since. And it was to me, it was very ingenious and his design was just really unique. Mm-hmm. And nobody else had done it before and they haven't done it since. He didn't win, but I liked it.
Here to speak more on what Project Goodwill is like from a designer's viewpoint is Lizzie Jones. Lizzie has competed and taken home prizes from multiple Project Goodwill events and will be joining us this year as a judge. She was kind enough to chat with me over Zoom about her experience with the competition.
So I'm Lizzie Jones. I'm a Texas native. I went to UNT where I graduated in 2017, I think. It feels like it's been so long ago.
Right.
With my BFA in fashion design. From there, I did my own thing for a little bit. I was a tailor with Nordstrom for 4 years before I jumped into their private label brands. So now I'm working on Nordstrom lingerie, sleep, and active wear, which is so exciting. That's been my dream job. But what really got me into fashion was actually costuming. I was always really into like manga and video games. So I started sewing so that I could make those costumes. And I figured out, wow, I love this. What can I do with this for the rest of my life?
Right.
That's what brought me into fashion.
That's awesome. Yeah, I noticed just like from looking at your designs previously, you know, your stuff is usually so fantastical. And I think one year, was it last year, you had like a sci-fi angle? Is that where that like comes from?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really inspired by just kind of the outrageous costumes because I feel like there's a way to tone them down a little bit and bring elements of that into fashion in a really organic manner. So I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is bring more of that pop and wow to the brands that I'm currently working on. So, hopefully once all of those roll out, you'll get to see some of that.
That's awesome. So were you a student when you first heard about this competition?
I was actually in my senior year, which made it really tough to do this. It was a great experience because we didn't really start our senior fashion show development until right after Project Goodwill started. Mm-hmm. So I kind of got to sneak in my design before, and it was really fun. All my classmates would come around because, I was working with interesting things, not just fashion related items.
Right.
But, I had a lampshade that I had torn up that I was pinning on the mannequin, and everybody was like, "What are you doing? You can't do that." I was like, no, watch, I can do it. It's going to be great.
So what was the draw for you?
For Project Goodwill, I really liked that they wanted to use recycled materials. I've always really been into reducing waste in the fashion industry because people, of course, people think about it a little bit more now with fast fashion and everything really being at the forefront. But I don't think that people realize just the volume of fashion waste that is produced. So I think it's really nice to produce these beautiful show-stopping garments, but use things that basically have no carbon footprint because they've already been produced.
So I know this is an audio medium, so it might sound a little weird, but can you tell me about some of the stuff you've designed for the competition and materials that you've used?
Ooh, yes. So I did 3 looks for Project Goodwill. My very first one was a little bit more toned down. My big showstopper part was a lampshade. I think I also used some table runners, fabric goods, which is totally fine. But it had these big exaggerated hips. That's where the lampshade came in. And then I used the fringe on the lampshade on the sleeves as well. So it had a little fun movement to it. Mm-hmm. The second one I think was my very favorite. I found a trampoline. So I bought that trampoline and I turned it into a skirt. So she had this big voluminous skirt with the springs hanging off of it. That one was incredibly fun. The way that the stage lights hit it and shone off of those springs was beautiful. I really wish that I could almost just wear it on the street, but it's a little bit too wacky for that. And then my third piece, I really wanted to use only non-fabric goods. So that's the really futuristic one that you were talking about before. That I think I found a car window shade, that really reflective, plasticky material. Mm-hmm. And I made a bodice out of that and then used plastic cutting boards and cut and melted them to do a stained glass effect over it. The first one I think was a real surprise. I did not expect to place first, not because I didn't love my design, but just I was really surprised by how beautiful everybody's work was. So, you come into the competition and I'm just wow, everybody is so great. There's just no way. But I did end up placing first in that one, which was a really big confidence boost. Being my final year in fashion school, you don't really know if people will appreciate your designs outside of school, just for the grade. Mm-hmm. So I think that win in particular was important to me to recognize that I could do this and people do like my style. And it really gave me the confidence to kind of pursue doing my own thing for a couple of years, which was really wonderful. The second competition I also won, which again was an incredibly tough competition, just the level in skill and just over the top design from the first competition and the second one was insane. I remember in particular, somebody had found wigs and they braided wigs to make the fabric for their dress. I was just this is incredible. How could you do that? That's so innovative. And then the third one I did not place. And I remember in particular, one of the designs had lit candles on it. It was so cool. It's just every single show that I go to, the fashion steps up tenfold. So I really can't even begin to imagine what is going to be at this show,
Right.
If last show we had real fire, contained and totally safe, but real fire.
So I can't say that is a new rule. You can't have any pyrotechnics.
I did know that after the show, they did discuss no more of that. But I just thought that was, it's if that was what happened, last time, and it was 10 times better than what happened before, which was 10 times better than 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. How are they going to top it?
So what is your thought process, going into each of these designs? Do you start off with like a central idea? One of the interesting things that, I heard from the interviews we did yesterday is that some people, when they approach this, they go from a storytelling perspective. They want each outfit to essentially like tell its own story that can be inferred by people who know nothing about fashion. So what angle do you come at it from?
Oh, I really come at it like kind of from a shopping perspective. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I really like to shop. Uh-huh. So when I had my designs, I had just like a very general idea of what I wanted to do. I'd be like, oh, I want something fitted. I want something that has big shoulders. I want something that has a big skirt. And then from there, I would just go into the stores until I found like that one piece that I was like, yes, this is a non-fabric item that will work perfectly for the part that I want to exaggerate. And then I would build from there. So like with my trampoline one, I went to like 4 or 5 different Goodwills, not purchasing anything before I found that trampoline. And then from there, I was like, okay, I can design off of this. So it's like I let the surprise of the find kind of dictate what else I pick up.
That makes sense. And then do you kind of like shape like a particular like silhouette that you're going for, or is it like a lot of sketching?
I kind of let the piece that I find dictate what that silhouette is going to be.
So you were asked to be a judge this year. Tell me a little bit about like how it felt when Liz and Shay reached out to you, and, what experience can you take from, as a competitor into this judging process?
So I think the first email I got, they just sent out to all previous applicants that was saying, we're ready to start Project Goodwill up again. You were a contestant before, so we're going to give you, priority application if you would like to apply. And I was really on the fence about it because I do have, I have a 9-to-5 in the fashion industry now, and that takes up more than 9 to 5, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, I love this competition. It's my favorite fashion competition, but I just don't know if I can dedicate the time to make a beautiful look. And then right about as I was going to send that email and say, thank you so much, but I think that I will step out, they asked me to be a judge. And I was like, this is perfect. I still want to be part of this incredible show, but I really want to see it from a different perspective. I've done it for 3 years, which is great. 3 years is plenty. So I'm really ready to step on the other side and look at these garments that people have made and understand how they had to get there, because I was in their shoes. So like when they make something and it's beautifully tailored, I know just how difficult that is, not just from a fashion designer perspective, but from a previous Project Goodwill perspective. Like I know how difficult it is to work with these non-conventional materials and still make it clean and beautiful and show-stopping. I just want to see what people have made. Like that's what makes me so excited about fashion, is the surprise and like getting to look at something as it's going down the runway and what's that made of? Like, how did they get this part here? That doesn't look like it, is fabric. And I'm just really excited to hear all the designers talk about their work, because that's something that since I've been out of school for 4 years, I haven't really gotten to like have a one-on-one with a designer and just be like, tell me about this thing that you poured hours and hours of your hard work into. Like, tell me why you love it. Tell me why it's great.
Why is this competition so important to you? Is it from a creative perspective? Is it just like, the knowledge that this helps people in our community? Like, what makes you keep coming back to it?
I think it's like, there's definitely 2 sides to it. I really appreciate it as a competition itself, to give smaller designers in Texas a chance to show their work, to get their work in front of people who matter, and to just get that confidence boost. When your work comes down the runway and people clap and cheer for it, like you can tell that that's genuine, that they're looking at something you made and they say, yes, I like it. Good job. Because when you're in school or when you're working by yourself, you don't necessarily get that recognition. And you really need it to have that confidence to put yourself out there and potentially go do your own brand. But in addition to that, I do really respect the work that Goodwill's doing. I've been a Goodwill shopper, for forever. I just really enjoy shopping at Goodwill. But I really like that they give back to our community, but in a meaningful way. They're providing jobs and services for a lot of people that are overlooked in our community. And I really like that, we're celebrating the fashion aspect of Goodwill, but in this competition, you're also celebrating all of the incredible work and the people behind it that Goodwill does.
Earlier this month, we met with this year's designers to provide them with the competition rules, timelines, and $100 vouchers that they'd be using to purchase materials to deconstruct from Goodwill. We took their headshots, told them all about our mission, and did brief interviews to get a sense of what Project Goodwill means to them. Competitors range from previous entrants to first-timers, from freelance designers to mechanical engineers. Here's what a few of them had to say.
I like being involved in a lot of stuff, and when I saw there was an opportunity to get involved in something related to fashion, I jumped right in.
I have a little bit of a background in doing some runway modeling. And so I was always very interested in fashion and the whole process.
I've outfitted friends and family for weddings. I costume for things like Renaissance Festival.
If you look from the start of fashion to now, that's basically all of human history, and it's got such an incredible range.
I think it's a great way for people to express themselves, and you really have a lot of creative freedom to do whatever you want. There's really no limitations for it.
I think I really want to challenge myself this year. I feel like I kind of dipped my toe in, but didn't really get to jump off of the deep end. So I think that's what we're doing. Kind of scared, but I think it's going to be okay.
I'm hoping people to see that you can be creative with many things, not just clothes.
I love doing this. It's fun. It's a good outlet for me to kind of get my creative juices flowing, and you meet interesting people doing this.
I am always looking for a new challenge.
There's not a lot of opportunities like competition-wise in Texas for fashion. So the fact that Goodwill has thought of this amazing idea that helps designers compete and be a part of the creative process, and also tangentially working with people who have disabilities and have needs, and giving them these opportunities like this is amazing.
It makes me feel great knowing that this competition and Goodwill helps so many people get back to work and feel empowered, and I'm grateful to be a part of it, to be a small piece of this through this event.
I hope that I've sufficiently gotten you all hyped up for Project Goodwill 2022. It really is one of the most unique events that I've ever been a part of, and I can't wait to see what our designers will bring forward. If you or someone you know want to check out Project Goodwill yourself, ticket sales will be ending soon, so visit goodwillnorthcentraltexas.org/Project Goodwill. You can also tune in to our social media for a live stream of the event the night of. Either way, you can participate in our People's Choice vote towards the end of the competition and be the judge yourself. And that's all I've got for you, so thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on April 7th. You have been listening to GoodCast, a podcast produced by Goodwill North Central Texas. To stay up to date on all things Goodwill NCT, be sure to check out our social media and sign up for our newsletter. And if you have a second, we'd appreciate it if you could share the show with a friend or leave us a review on iTunes. It is the fastest way to help the show grow. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts.